This is the story of a street orphan named Saya who discovers that he is destined to protect the goddess of war reincarnated in the body of a young girl and save the world, but only if he can face his own past and become a knight of the zodiac. The man narrates, in days of legend, gods walked the earth and tormented mortals. Athena, the goddess of warfare and wisdom, had the power to destroy humanity but chose to protect us. Brave young knights from across the globe swore their allegiance to her. They learned to harness Cosmo, the power of the stars. Their fists reached towards the heavens in battle against those who wished Athena dead. Over time, the gods retreated and became myths. But then, 18 years ago, Athena was reborn as a helpless child. A knight clad in gold armor gave his life to protect her as they crashed to earth, and that's how the narrator found her, lying in his arms. A mortal girl with the power of a god. Since then, the narrator has been searching for a new generation of knights to protect Athena and the earth. A fighter named Saya is upset about the loss of his big sister and recalls when he was training with her. At that time, he accidentally touches his sister's Cosmo pendant and causes her to get captured by an unknown individual. Cassios, the owner of the fighting organization, approaches Saya to tell him that he is next. Cassios informs Saya that if he manages to win this fight, maybe he will get a shot with him someday and advises him not to dance around to avoid another boring fight of his. Saya faces an undisputed champion named Jackie, and as he steps into the octagon, everyone starts to boo him. The match then begins, with Saya using his dancing style to fight, which makes Cassios really mad. Saya disrespects Cassios by kicking off his cigar, and this causes Cassios to step into the octagon to confront him. Saya is not afraid to fight, but he is repeatedly beaten as he is no match for Cassios. Seeing Saya brutally wounded, the audiences are happy and chanting Cassios' name. But when Cassios slams him onto the ground, Saya coincidentally releases his Cosmo and hurts Cassios. A man named Alman, who watches the fight from above, also notices the power that Saya has released. After Saya regains consciousness, he manages to land his combo on Cassios and quickly runs off from the octagon, leaving Cassios furious to see him forfeit the match like that. As Saya prepares his baggage, suddenly a man approaches him and tells him there is someone who wants to talk to him as he knows what Saya is looking for. Back to Cassios, he informs someone he has found one of the Cosmo guys. As Saya comes outside, Alman then shows up to inform him that he has found trouble, and in a few moments, a woman named Vander Gurid will be here with her boys. Saya wonders who she is, and Alman reveals that she is his ex-wife. This fighting ring is her recruitment operation, and she is looking for warriors with special skills for her private army. Alman tells Saya he saw what he did in the ring, and he knew it had to be him. Suddenly, Gurid's warriors arrive at Saya's location, and Alman lets him choose between coming with him or trying his luck against the warriors. Knowing he wouldn't win against the warriors alone, he decides to go with Alman. On the way, they encounter a sniper who fires to delay the warriors, and Alman introduces him to Saya as his assistant named Mylok. Saya is curious why they're after him, to which Alman replies that they are only after the warriors with strong Cosmo. Yet he believes they must have got the wrong guy. They then manage to lose the warriors by entering the tunnel, and Saya asks Alman what is going on. As Saya is stubborn and unwilling to go with them, Mylok shocks him unconscious. In the past, it is revealed that his sister was captured by Gurid, who knew their location by detecting the energy source from the Cosmo Saya tapped into. However, Gurid was supposed to capture Saya instead, but his sister gave up her life to save him. Saya later awakens in the jet, and Alman brings him to his hideout. As they arrive, Alman takes Saya to see his ancient collections and asks him what he sees, to which Saya says he only sees a bunch of really old stuff. However, Alman lets him know these are stories. Ancient heroes were defined by their monumental deeds as much as by their tragic ends, and Alman always admired the formidable magnitude of their fate. Alman then asks Saya what he knows about Athena and tells him that Athena has returned in human form, and he is destined to become one of her guardian knights. Saya thinks Alman has gone crazy talking about this and arranges to leave, but he is surprised when he hears Alman mention his sister. Alman explains 10 years ago, Gurid detected a strong Cosmo at his location, and she thought it was Saya's sister, Patricia. However, Patricia gave herself up so that Gurid wouldn't find him, as she knew Saya would become a warrior of Athena known as the Pegasus Knight. Suddenly, a woman shows up behind Saya, and Alman introduces her as Sienna, who is the goddess Athena reincarnated. Seeing Saya's arrogant behavior, Sienna thinks he can't seriously be the Pegasus Knight. She then hands him a box which contains Patricia's Cosmo pendant inside, and Alman lets him know this is the key to the Pegasus armor. Saya questions how this is supposed to help him find his sister, together, and Alman says his plan is to trust him to do what is right. Alman introduces Seiya to Marin, who is the Silver Knight, as she can help teach him to reveal the hidden secret of the pendant, so he can protect Sienna and himself against the enemies, and maybe he will be able to find his sister. As a non-believer, Seiya thinks Alman has really gone totally insane. Alman also knows this is too much for Seiya to take, and he gets them ready for breakfast and suggests they talk about it tomorrow. Back at the Fight Club, it is revealed that Cassios is working for Gyrid, who is also her business partner. After Cassios has a brawl with Seiya, Gyrid wants to shut this place down and offer him a new deal. Cassios tells her she needs to continue supporting this Fight Club if she wants a new deal with him. Nero, who is Gyrid's assistant, says nobody needs a loser who gets beaten by a kid, but Cassios replies Seiya just got lucky and no man gets lucky twice with him. Gyrid then orders one of her warriors to fight him to see if that's true. While having breakfast, Mylok comes in to inform Alman that there is an urgent call. As Alman leaves, Seiya asks Sienna how she feels to be a goddess. She replies that she is not a goddess yet, but her Cosmo is getting stronger day by day, and someday soon she will become Athena. Sienna tells Seiya he should be excited to have breakfast with a future goddess, but he seems to not care about it. Suddenly, something is wrong with Sienna, causing her Cosmo to burst and the windows to close. As Alman arrives to tell her to relax, she immediately calms down, and Seiya wonders what just happened. Alman explains this is because she bears a goddess's Cosmo in the body of a mortal, and the building will automatically close when it detects the potential Cosmo burst to prevent Sienna from Gyrid. Seiya then realizes Sienna is really a goddess. Back at the Fight Club, Cassios proves himself to be a strong man. Even though he loses, he still keeps fighting and doesn't give up easily. Seeing his potential, Gyrid believes he can beat the Pegasus Knight and wants to give him her prototype. She asks Cassios how much he wants for him to use the prototype and become a warrior. He first hesitates, but when Nero mentions he can kill Seiya on this mission, he accepts to do it for free. Later, Seiya is curious about how people usually react when they learn Sienna is Athena. She replies that it varies. For example, the day after she was born, someone tried to kill her. She tells him she was found by Alman and Gyrid when the knight in the gold armor was holding her in his arms. However, Gyrid was a little obsessed with the gold armor and used it to develop technology far beyond anything. Sienna says she will someday become Athena and suggests to Seiya he can choose not to become a Pegasus Knight as well. Seiya tells her Alman told him it's his destiny, yet she lets him know that nobody's destiny is written in stone except hers. Knowing that if he can control his Cosmo, he will be able to use it to find his sister, Seiya decides to go see Marin. In Gyrid's tower, she drains Cosmo from Cassios and prepares to start her prototype on him. Nero wonders why she chooses Cassios, to which she replies that he failed her. However, Gyrid really needs to know where Alman is hiding Sienna, so she can neutralize her before Sienna becomes Athena and destroys the world. Nero informs her she can ask their prisoner, who is Alman's man that was captured back then. The next day, Seiya prepares to leave to see Marin, and Sienna brings a lunchbox for him. Seeing that Seiya seems to be falling in love with Sienna, Mylok tells him not to get any big ideas, as goddesses don't have boyfriends. Seiya later arrives at the island, and Mylok directs him to climb up the mountain to see Marin. He wants Mylok to drop him off there, yet Mylok lets him know that's not how it works. Seiya then roughly climbs his way up and finally arrives to meet Marin, who reveals herself to be a woman knight. Marin informs him she only trains knights, and Seiya shows her his pendant, stating that he has been told he is the Pegasus Knight. After bringing Seiya to the training site, Marin tells him that if he can break a rock with his bare hand, she will accept him as her student. Seiya thinks she is tripping because she let him break the rock without equipment, but she states that a knight could. On his first attempt, he isn't able to break it, saying he knew this was stupid. Marin then shows him that his flesh, this rock, or the stars in the sky, all things in the Cosmo are made from the same atoms. From the moment they are born, they all hold the Cosmo within themselves. A knight can make it explode and shatter the atoms of any object. She encourages him to focus, clear his mind, and feel the Cosmo within him to be able to break the rock. He does what she tells him, and his pendant suddenly shines. As he hits the rock, he isn't able to break it again, and Marin tells him something clouded his focus at the last minute. But she decides to train him anyway. Back to Cassios, his body is now fully cyborg, just like Gyrid's warriors. Seeing himself in this state, he is furious at Gyrid and wondering what that is. She says it's a curse of Athena, the war that awaits them unlike any other before, and their enemies are the gods themselves. She also comforts him, saying this is the power to crush the immortals, and no flesh compares to this. Cassios doesn't know Gyrid's plan to destroy the gods, and he has no interest in this war either. The only person he wants to crush is Seiya. After Cassios leaves, Gyrid informs Nero that she can't get the prisoner to talk and wants him to do the work instead. Seiya then has his first training with Marin, where he doesn't get to hit her even once. He is amazed by Marin's meteor meteor fist, and she tells him his Cosmo is his weapon. She advises him to focus his energy, let it burn inside of him, and release it all at once like a shooting star. However, Seiya must also learn her meteor fist if he wants to survive the battle that awaits him. Meanwhile, Sienna dreams of destroying the world when she is in Athena form, and Almond comes in to comfort her, assuring her this won't happen as it's just a vision. Back to Seiya, he locks in on his training, spending days and nights with Marin until one day he is finally able to break the rock. Nero later visits the prisoner and, knowing that he is stubborn in telling where Almond is, Nero summons one thing that he fears to scare him. After hundreds of hours spent on his training, Seiya manages to destroy a big rock with his Cosmo. Suddenly, his pendant turns into an armor box and equips him with the Pegasus armor. He then recalls when Patricia was captured by Gurid and finds out that Almond was there as well. Realizing he was fooled by Almond, he arranges to leave the island, but Marin stops him, saying his training isn't over yet. This leads Seiya to fight Marin, but he is no match for her and his armor also disappears. However, Seiya doesn't stop, stating she can either kill him now or send him back. In Gurid's mansion, her god-killing machine is nearly 100% complete, as Nero only needs a little more time. Cassios remarks it's so much trouble for one little girl, and if Gurid asks him to do the job, he would be more than happy to snap Siena's neck the old-fashioned way. But Gurid says Sienna might awaken Athena's Cosmo within her if she sustains any damage to her body. Seiya later arrives furiously to see Almond, but he is stopped by Sienna, who brings him to the sea to tell him what really happened to his sister. She reveals that Almond took Patricia because of her. When she was younger, she had no control at all. One night, Gurid was holding her, and she had a burst of Cosmo that caused Gurid's arms to get destroyed. Seeing that his wife was dying, Almond used the power of the gold armor to save her. But ever since the accident, Gurid needs Cosmo to stay alive. However, Sienna's Cosmo is too strong for Gurid, which is why she sought out kids to get their Cosmo. Seiya is curious about what Gurid did to Patricia, and Sienna says his sister doesn't have Cosmo. But Gurid believed Patricia was hiding something and sent her men to watch her. After the incident, Gurid was never the same. She became convinced that Athena had returned to this world to end it and was going to kill Sienna, so Almond forced his daughter into hiding. Meanwhile, Mylok informs Almond their radar picked up Gurid's signature. Almond knows he doesn't stand a chance against Gurid and asks Mylok to get out of here and protect Sienna. However, Sienna is scared that her mother was right and needs Seiya to promise her that if in the end she becomes the goddess of war and can't control her power, he must stop her at all costs. Suddenly, they become aware of Gurid's arrival and quickly go back to help Almond. Knowing Gurid is here, Almond sets a bomb in the mansion to await her. Cassios then eliminates all the guards to clear the way for Gurid. Soon, Gurid approaches Almond, and he asks to make a deal with her. On the way to the jet, Mylok encounters 4 of Gurid's warriors. Learning that the warriors have bulletproof armor from his previous fight, Mylok has already prepared his special bullets that can pierce through the armor. Back to Gurid, she wants Almond to tell her where Sienna is, and he doesn't expect her to get straight to the business after not seeing each other for a long time. Gurid questions him about what he expects after Sienna almost killed her, but he says she can't blame Sienna for that. Gurid reminds him they had an agreement that when Sienna would go out of control, they would do whatever needed to be done together. Almond lets her know that Sienna was entrusted to him. He believes in her that she isn't evil, and encourages Gurid to believe in their child too. Not long after, Sienna and Seiya arrive back at the mansion and Almond threatens Gurid with a bomb remote, stating he won't let her hurt Sienna. However, the remote is destroyed by Cassios, and Almond is brutally beaten. Seiya then begins to fight off the warriors, but it seems he is no match for them yet. Later, he is confronted by Cassios, and in the urgent time, he can't bring his armor out, which leads to a tough time for Seiya against Cassios. When Almond is able to get on his knees, he pulls out the bomb and blows himself up along with Gurid. However, she manages to escape into the jet in time, and Sienna also gets captured. Seiya, who is severely injured, can't chase them and suddenly loses his consciousness. Later, Gurid puts Sienna on her god-killing machine, and she emotionally bids farewell to her one last time. Meanwhile, Seiya regains his consciousness and realizes he has failed to protect Sienna. Mylok comforts him, saying things don't always work out the way they expect them to. Seiya suddenly sees Marin in his imagination and tells her that he has failed, believing he's not a knight as he couldn't save Sienna. Marin replies a knight should not mistake obsession for purpose and asks who it is that he is trying to save. Seiya then gets ready and makes his way to save Sienna with Mylok. While on their way, Gurid's warriors detect them on their radar, and they are now being targeted by missiles. Mylok instructs Seiya to jump off as he can't land, and Seiya unlocks his new Pegasus armor. Gurid's warriors are no match for him, as well as Cassios, whom he breaks the armor of with only one kick. Seeing Sienna suffer too much, Gurid lets Nero stop the procedure. Nero protests, saying he is not going to stop, which leads Gurid to order her guards guards to kill him. However, it is revealed that Nero is a Phoenix Knight, and he easily eliminates the guards. Gyrid then reveals her metal arms to confront him, yet she gets hit by his Phoenix spike. Nero approaches her, saying killing Athena is only half of the battle, and he absorbs the gold armor from her, as this is the other half. Meanwhile, Seiya arrives at the scene, and Nero stops him from helping Sienna. They later face each other on the rooftop, and the battle soon begins. As they release their ultimate attacks, the Cosmo causes the roof to collapse, and they fall back down. Gyrid gathers her energy to stop the procedure, and Sienna suddenly becomes Athena. Seeing this, Nero rushes to stop her, but he isn't able to get into her range since her Cosmo is too strong. As Sienna releases her Cosmo, everything around her is destroyed, and Seiya tries his best to stop her. When he manages to get close, he tells her she isn't the goddess of war, as no one's destiny is written in stone, not even hers. He also says he will never give up on her, no matter what she chooses to be. Hearing this, Sienna sobs, and immediately her Cosmo disappears. With the help of Seiya, she is able to control her Cosmo, and soon she goes to see Gyrid. Gyrid apologizes to Sienna, as she was wrong about her. Sienna then uses her Cosmo to heal Gyrid's wounds, and suddenly both her arms are also regenerated. Sienna is glad to see Mylok, that he's still alive, and he is happy that Seiya made it. Nero, who watches them from the top, realizes Sienna is not dangerous after all and decides to leave her alone. As everything is good, Seiya asks Sienna what they're going to do next. She says Athena's awakening is a sign that the old gods will soon return and try to start a war, and they need to gather all the knights of the zodiac to stop them. However, she says there is something they need to do first, as this is the time they have to find Patricia.